Hi everyone! People have been showing magic tricks for centuries. Some magicians pretend to know real magic, and someone, on the contrary, delight the audience with an honest confession. They admit their tricks are just illusions and challenge us to guess the secret behind them. And you know, in most cases, it's not so easy. Sometimes really complex tricks magicians come up with remain a mystery for many years and even decades. However, we managed to reveal the secrets of several mind-blowing tricks. And today, we are ready to share them with you. Be careful, some tricks are dangerous, so do not repeat them without special training. Let's get it on! Swallowing swords. Swallowing blades and swords is one of the most famous tricks. It is believed that sword swallowing originated in ancient India around 2000 BC. That is, a long time ago. Throughout the history of mankind, the art of swallowing various sharp objects had its highs and lows, but even today, people who can insert a sword in their throats are admired by the audience.
Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Yes!
Sometimes people can even scream in horror, because magicians often spice up their tricks for the sake of the thrill. The essence of the trick, however, remains the same. You need to swallow some long, sharp object and then remove it without any injuries. What's the secret behind the trick? Well, some novice magicians use a sword that folds up into the handle, but the real masters take real risks. Yes, they do put a blade in the throat, but they do not swallow it. The swallowing reflex is suppressed as much as possible to avoid any injuries. This practice requires long and ardent practice and is extremely dangerous. Do not try to do anything like this at home, because this trick is really risky and can even result in death. You need to be a professional and an incredibly brave person to do this. According to some reports, today there are less than 100 professional sword swallowers in the world, and even they use extra precautions. For example, before the performance, they swallow special guiding tubes. Seems disgusting to you? Well, magic requires some sacrifice. Blanket trick. American illusionist Criss Angel is one of the most recognized modern magicians. He had more prime time on TV than any other illusionist. In 2009, he was named the Magician of the Decade. In 2010, Magician of the Century. He is a truly outstanding magician who can do magic anywhere. Just look at the trick he did on the beach. Watch carefully. The magician borrows beach blankets from the passersby, asks them to hold the edges, shakes the blanket, and after a couple of seconds, someone emerges from under the blanket. Another blanket, a couple more shakes, and again someone appears under it, while the magician quickly runs somewhere, only to appear under the blanket again. How did he do it? It's all about the camera angle. Don't believe us? We'll explain the secret behind this trick by watching a similar one. The trick will work only if the car moves along a strictly defined path right behind the magician's back. You can see that the most important detail remains hidden from the viewer behind the illusionist's broad back. When he moves away, the car appears from the thin air. Using the same technique, Criss Angel put his assistant under the beach blanket. But wait a second, what about the second part of the trick? When the famous illusionist first runs away and then appears under the blanket?
I want you to watch this very, very carefully, okay? I'm just gonna come straight up and down. Now I'm gonna run to the water.
Some of you have already guessed there is another person who looks like Criss. You can even notice the moment when Criss is completely covered by the blanket. At the same moment, the fake Criss changes places with the magician and then quickly runs away from the frame without showing his face to anyone. Yeah, this trick doesn't work with the real audience, but it doesn't make it any less cool. Walking through glass. The ability to walk through walls is a useful skill. Ghosts and some comic book characters have this ability. People cannot do that yet, but we have already learned how to pass through windows. Don't believe us? Watch the trick by the famous British illusionist Dynamo. This seemingly shy man has real talent. He asks to lend him a coat and hold it in such a way that it turns into something like a screen. The magician looks small compared to his broad-shouldered assistants, but after a couple of seconds, no one will even think about it because Dynamo turns around to face the glass, slowly hides behind the coat, and then appears on the other side of the glass. The glass remains intact, even if you knock on it, and the assistants seem no less surprised than the rest of the audience. can you do this in real life? With some preparation time, you definitely can. Let's look at the exact same trick, but with different glass. It also looks intact, but when the assistants cover it with paper, the magician suddenly breaks through the glass, and after a moment, he even crawls through it. But the real secret is hidden on the other side of the window. These two assistants lift the glass to reveal a hole big enough to fit an adult man. They need to do this very slowly and very carefully so that the audience does not see it. Well, the magician himself has to make a lot of effort and crawl through the hole while keeping a mysterious look. By the way, did you notice the little open sticker in the corner of the window? It remains still all the time, although, as we now know, the assistants move the glass. Why? The thing is, the sticker is not placed on the window itself. It is glued to a small plate behind it and therefore remains still. It helps create the illusion that the glass does not move. Levitation. Each one of us has probably thought about how cool it would be to be able to fly. This explains why so many characters in comics, movies, and even fairy tales have this cool ability. Well, while ordinary people can only wish for it, illusionists make their dreams come true. The illusionist Dynamo, who, as you already know, likes to impress the public, performed a stunning trick. He levitated at an altitude of roughly 300 meters. Dynamo was levitating over the shard, and it looked really impressive. For a few seconds, Dynamo was just walking around the viewing platform, and then he took off and started floating in midair at a great height, and the passers-by below were gasping and pointing at him with their fingers. Quite an impressive performance. But how did the magician do it? Well, he didn't use spells or some magic powder. The trick is all about illusion and technology. The magician has a special harness under his clothes. The crane operator attaches special cables to it before the show, so Dynamo chose such baggy clothing for a good reason. But how come none of the people noticed the wires? The trick is in the weather. The light can turn even pretty thick cables into invisible threads, especially at a large distance. Neither the human eye nor the camera can spot them. However, in this case, the public somehow noticed the cables supporting the magician. You can actually see them on the photos if you slightly tweak the contrast and brightness settings. Bite coin trick. Bite a coin is one of the famous street tricks, which was used by almost all magicians, and David Blaine, of course, is no exception. The trick is quite simple, but it does not make it any less spectacular, especially for the people who have never seen it before. The magician shows people a coin, a simple metal coin, everyone can see that. The magician takes it to his lips and bites off about a half of the coin. Usually at this stage, people are shocked. The trick is not finished yet, because now you need to return the coin to its original state. The magician blows on it, and the coin is whole again. Pure magic! The audience is confused and delighted, while the illusionist feels like he's the next Houdini. Well, let's find out exactly how this trick is done. It's probably the easiest one in today's video, because a coin is all you need. Not the usual coin though, but a special one. This metal circle looks perfectly normal, but it has a special mechanism inside. It folds the coin in half and then straightens it when necessary. Actually, this is the secret behind the trick. These simple props can be ordered in any joke shop. Well, and then it's all about sleight of hand and a lot of practice. Impaling the man. Our last trick for today can make you scream in horror. The illusionist takes a few seconds to get ready, and then assistants put him on the edge of a huge spike, and then they leave or spin the poor fellow. In case you forgot, do not repeat it at home, because in a few moments, the spikes pierce him. Did you flinch at this moment too? It is simply impossible to remain calm when you see it, but don't panic. The trick is carried out by an experienced magician, then surely no one was hurt. After all, the secret is, as usual, in special props. Look closely at the spike the magician, or his assistant, is pierced with. The sharp edge does not pierce the body, but folds inside when slightly pressed. But this is not the only secret behind the trick. In order to keep the balance and not fall, the frame with the hole is hidden under the clothes. We admit that the frame doesn't look too reliable, but the magicians have to sacrifice some comfort for the sake of the trick. But what about the part that pierces through the stomach? Some of you may ask. If the tip is folding, how did it pierce a person? Well, of course, it didn't really. A small copy of the spike is hidden in the belt of the magician or his assistant, and it is activated at the right moment. Then all you need to do is act as if you're in pain and listen to the terrified screams of the audience. Well, that's enough tricks for today. See you soon!